I got tired of paying for hosting for my band's outdated website, and I didn't have the time to update it myself. So I created a prompt to have AI build a new version and host it for free, all in less than 20 minutes. So here's my band's old website. It's hosted on Shopify, and it used their template builder, which is super restrictive. You can see it's kind of generic. It's really limited to what you can actually do with their website builder, which is super frustrating. So I wanted to build a new one, but I just didn't have the time, right? So I used AI, Claude Code, to build a new version, and it looks a lot better. I think it looks pretty slick. It's got nice little parallaxing sections. It really shows off the artwork of the different albums here. It shows video links, a whole artwork section that has different pages that describe the different artworks, a newsletter sign up form, and social links, smooth navigation, everything. And I did this all with a single prompt, and it's hosted for free on Vercel. So I'm going to show you how I went about doing all that. So obviously, as everyone knows, AI tools have gotten insanely good in the last few years. I myself work in web development and application development, and it has massively changed how I work and do things. This kind of a site would have taken me probably days to build in the past, and now I can create a prompt that will have AI do it in just a few minutes, which is crazy. It's exciting and scary, but hey, we need to take advantage, and it's awesome what it can do to help empower artists to do more and to focus on the creative things. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And how I laid this out was I created a prompt that describes the website and what I want, and I separated it into two different sections. The main prompt here describes the type of website, the sections we want, all the details, and then the second part is the content for the website, specific to the band Socionic. Everything from the about bio to the different images and embed code, Spotify links. The reason I split this up is because I wanted to be able to do this for multiple artists. I have another project that I'm working on called Circuit Weaver, and I wanted to create a website for that project as well, but I didn't want to have to like redo a whole new prompt for it. So I split it up into two sections. I have a core prompt and then the template for the content and the assets that I can just swap out different assets and different text for, and then I could create a whole brand new site with that. So I'll show that later on. But basically, just to go over this prompt, I think this is a huge thing in the modern era of prompt engineering and just knowing how to communicate with AI, knowing how to get what you want faster and more detailed and just better quality. The whole idea of prompt engineering, it really goes along with what we use in software as product specs. So like a good product spec, a good definition of what you want is going to yield a good result of what is built or what comes out. So good input, good output. I think that's a huge concept in the new era of AI and prompting. You have to be able to communicate well what you want out of AI for it to understand and then execute. When we talk about good prompting structure, there's actually kind of guides for this. And for the AI, we're using Claude Code. It's made by Anthropic. They have a great prompt engineering guide on their website and even have a specific prompt library entry in here called Website Wizard. And this kind of describes a very similar approach. Create a one page website based on our specifications, and it tells you how to lay out your prompt to get the best results for this type of a case. So I actually looked at this kind of after the fact, but this is a good guide. I'll provide a link in the description here, but this is a good guide for how to organize your prompts and how to approach prompts to get a good output for what you want. I attempted that here in this prompt. Basically, I said to create a responsive one-page artist website for my music project. I described like where to find the assets for the site, which is basically like the images and fonts. And then I just tell it to like clean up all the assets and leave a good structure behind for a deployable website that we can send to a web server. I outline the tech stack that we want to use here is basically just HTML and CSS. I wanted to keep this simple. I did mention Tailwind, which is a CSS framework, and that just makes it better structured and has good built-in like responsive design. We want to deploy it to Vercel, which is it's an application hosting platform that I use for client work and for my own application projects. But you can actually deploy just basic HTML websites to it for free. It has a hobby free level that you can actually sign up for and then deploy as many projects as you want for free on the hobby plan. And the restriction there is basically if you get super big and you have tons of visitors to your website, like let's say, you get as big as Metallica or something for your band site, or you use a bunch of AI processing or something on your site somehow, then you're going to have to like bump up and pay for it. But you can actually go really far on the hobby plan, which is amazing. So we're going to use that for deployment. And then I go on to describe to use basic SEO principles to make it well searchable, well constructed website. We describe the different sections here. So we want a header section with links with smooth scrolling down to the different sections of the website. We want to have social icons so we can link out to the different social networks for this artist. We're not going to provide those assets, so we want those icons to be SVG icons and look nice and sleek, and AI will do that for us. We have a hero section. We want to really kind of demonstrate some artwork. We have an about section with the bio for the band. We have music links and albums, so you can click out to Spotify, Apple Music, and listen to the albums. And we have a video section with some YouTube videos. We have a newsletter call to action where you can sign up for newsletter, and then the footer to complete the website. We continue on here in this prompt to say we want it to be responsive, to work on mobile and desktop and tablet as well. So it's just well-structured website that'll work on any device. And then as we go down, it gets a little more detailed. We get into design for what we want for the body text size, the website kind of organization, like a grid-based layout, just gives an idea, high level of how to lay out the different sections. Background color black with white text. And then this section is where it gets the most detailed. We want little parallax sections in between the main content sections where the images like slide behind. So this is the most technical aspect of this prompt. And it's basically just describing exactly what we want here, how we want that parallax to work, and making sure that it doesn't have gaps and this kind of thing. So really this prompt kind of goes high level to low level. And again, for the parallax, it's kind of an 80-20 thing. A lot of the prompt is actually describing how to do that well. But if you look at it, like this is a pretty short prompt, but it's pretty concise and it tells the AI exactly what we want. So we'll get good results. The second half of this prompt is the content, where that first half is the core. It tells us what we want as far as like the structure. We want a website, we want it responsive, we want to have these different sections and things within it. And then the second half of the prompt has the actual content for this specific artist. And like I said, I split these up so I could have different artists use these same core and then template prompt. So I could do this very easily for multiple projects. Here we just have the artist name and title, socionic, tagline. We don't want a tagline for the hero for this. We want to show off the artwork a bit. The about just has like the bio for the specific band. Extra section here, we're just adding a Spotify embed player that kind of overlaps the first and the second sections. So there's extra kind of direction for this, along with the embed code, which is I just got it off of Spotify. If you go to an artist page and next to artist name, it has the little 3 dots. You click on that and share, and you can actually get the embed code there. So you could get this for any artist. And then the newsletter sign up call out, which is basically just a link to Substack for my newsletter. And it's just one link, and AI will know how to convert that into a Substack sign up form. We also have the structure for the albums, how we want that laid out. Like we want the image, title, and then the link. And then the actual links for the albums, which is just I got from Spotify. These are the links to Spotify and Apple Music for the artists for the different albums. And for the album covers, we have these assets that we're telling AI about. And this is an important thing. So as part of this setup, we have the prompt, and then we have our basic project folder. And in the project folder, we want to give it the assets that it needs to build the website. So these assets are already made. We already have them for the band. In this case, it's fonts, like the font we use for the different branding. But more importantly, it's the images that we're going to use on the website. And these are images we already have, both the album covers And then there's artwork from the actual albums that we'll use for the parallax in the back. And then like the big header hero section will have. So this end part of the prompt is referring to all these different assets. So we have the album covers, we have videos are just external links, social links are external. And then here's the rest of the images. We have the hero image for that big, beautiful front page hero, and then the parallax images. So you can see here what I'm talking about. Here's the album cover for Dividing Horizon from Socionic. Here is the album cover for Identity, the first album. And here's the hero for the big, like, beautiful landing page for the new website, as well as the first album, Identity, had these artworks that coincide with like the visual representation of the lyrical meaning behind each song. So we're going to use these as the kind of parallax background in between the sections. These are really cool to make memories. So, and then we have the fonts at the end. Again, these are specific fonts to the brand, so we're providing the fonts locally. But then if there's any kind of Google font, that can just be pulled from the web, and the AI knows how to do that. So now that we have our prompt laid out and we have our asset folder all set up in the project, we will move on to the coding and telling AI to execute our prompts. So I'm using Claude Code, which is probably one of the best coding AIs currently. Is what I use for client work and what I use for my personal projects and applications that I build. And that runs in the command line here. And it's a little techy, but actually it just is another version of a prompt interface like a chat, but it gives Claude Code access to more of your coding environment, more of your operating system, which allows it to be more powerful. So you can open a terminal here where you will run Claude Code by going, for Mac, you go into Spotlight, or you can just open the utilities folder within applications and you can start terminal. I'm actually using iTerm 2 here, which is a nerdy custom version of terminal, but it's basically the same principles. And that'll open up a terminal here, and then you can basically just execute here. But I already have this pulled up. So I have Claude Code already installed, and you can use Cursor or any other coding AI. Cursor is integrated into a development environment, so that's a little more developer friendly. You could actually just paste these prompts into ChatGPT and ask it to output the HTML and CSS for you, and it should output it directly there. But again, this is one of the more powerful ones and one I'm used to using. So I'm using Claude Code. It's already installed. And to start it, I'll just type Claude into the command line. I'll tell it to trust this folder or project folder that we're working in. And then now we're in the interface to use Claude Code. So again, going over our prompts, we have our high level direction of the website we want to build, the structure of it. And then we have our content for the Socionic version of a website. So I'm going to copy and paste these into Claude Code right out of the gate. We're just going to copy and paste the 2 prompts to make one mega prompt and paste it in the Claude Code, and we will let it start up and do its thing. So we're going to press enter. It goes through and interprets the prompt and starts thinking. It should output like a to-do list of all the things that it's going to do to build this website, which is super cool. It tells us all the steps that it's going to do to execute, and then it should check these off as it goes. And I love how Claude gives us these nice little ASCII progress indicators, just so we just know that progress is happening. It's just very, very fulfilling. So this section of the to-dos, it's creating the main HTML file with proper structure. So it's basically interpreting all the prompt input and the technical specifications of the type of website we want the technology to use, and it's organizing that into code. So this is by far the biggest step. It's probably going to think here for a while, but the rest of this stuff will go really fast. So while we're waiting, it's a good time to go get some coffee, or if you're in Argentina, yerba mate, which is very key to a successful coding session. Good AI and good caffeine make anything possible. Okay, so here it's stopping to ask us if we want to continue. It's actually outputting the whole HTML here, which we don't really care about because we know that we wrote a really good prompt and we trust that it's going to execute because we were very clear. So we want to go ahead and say yes, but we don't want it to ask again for these type of approvals. So we want it to continue without bothering us anymore. It'll probably ask us again when it goes to the cleanup section because it'll be deleting files and it's kind of like a different operation. So we'll address that when it comes. And normally when I'm coding, I will have these, I will look through each one of these because I want a code review, but that's like for apps and heavier things where I don't want it to ruin the whole structure by going off and doing its own thing when it didn't understand certain specifications. So for this, a simple website, we're just going to say yes and don't ask again and just continue on building its magic, or forging in this case. Cool. So you can see how quickly it went through and crossed all these off. Again, it's nice to like see this structure and then progress in this way. Now it's asking to delete files. It's cleaning up. I actually left some PSDs in here, so it's good. It's cleaning those up. We don't want those deployed to a web server because they're really big files and they're useless when it comes to a website after creating it anyway. So we're going to go ahead and allow it to delete those. And then now it's going to create a README file just to give us like a high level instruction of the website structure, all the technologies used. And then more importantly, it's going to tell us how to set up Vercel, which is the web hosting service, so that we can follow instructions and then deploy a version of this website. So here's like a quick command line version of the README file. It just goes through the features. This is basically outlining what we told it to do, the different sections, the tech stack you use, HTML5, JavaScript, Tailwind, CSS, custom fonts. And then it tells us like the prerequisites. I already have a lot of this installed, but if you're starting from scratch, then essentially you're going to have to install the Vercel command application, the package for your terminal, so that you can deploy to Vercel. I already have this installed, but the instructions are here in the README. So now it's ready to deploy to Vercel, which is going to be public on the internet where anybody can access it. So we're going to see what happens and let it go forward and deploy it. Cool. So it went through with the deployment and sent the code up to Vercel, and it gives us this live site link like right here in the terminal. So it's ready to be checked out live on the internet. It's a weird looking URL, but we can add a domain later. I'm going to go ahead and click this, and we're going to see what we got. Boom. Here's our new band website. We have the title, the navigation, all our social links, the big, beautiful header image here with the title, the Spotify player. Okay, they had the artwork with the parallax working, an about section with the bio that we had in the second section. We have our music section with the two artworks, and then listen on Spotify and Apple Music. We have another cool look at, isn't that parallax just so cool? It really shows off the artwork. We have our videos from YouTube, which are fully functional, fully embedded and functional. And then we have more parallax. The newsletter sign up is just from that one URL. So it's all plugged in, all the parallax. If we go through our, like we got the persistent header. If we go through and click on our socials, it brings us to the Socionic social that we put in, Instagram, all connected, all fully working. Awesome. And this is live on the web. This is live on the internet. Yeah, it's crazy to me. Like this kind of thing used to take me a while to build. Now AI can do it in what, 15 minutes or less. And again, it's all the good prompting. Good prompting is what gets you there. So prompting is a skill. It's like writing. It's organizing thoughts. Very important stuff. Cool. So now that we have our prompt fully working, we build a website, deployed it to the internet, all in 15 minutes. Let's try it again with a different artist, use the same core prompt and then enter the second content prompt and use a different artist. We'll use Circuit Weaver and have a new tagline, new assets for images, and new bio, etc. So we'll see if we can just do the same process and get that spun up super quick too. So in order to get that set up, we have to do the same process. We have a new project folder and we need to copy over the assets that it's going to use. So I'm going to copy this and paste it over here. And then we're going to use the same main prompt with all the website description and the different sections and everything, but we're going to use a new content prompt, the second half. And this one has bio the same, but it has the different Spotify links and Apple Music links. Social links are all different. And then we have these updated images that point to the assets folder that I just copied over. Let's get the second artist going. Same process, super easy. Going to start Claude in this project folder. We're going to copy and paste the main prompt, same as last time. And then we'll take the new Circuit Weaver content prompt that just has the different assets and links, copy that, paste that into Claude, and let it do its magic again. Okay, cool. So we went through the same build process. Claude Code did all its magic and created the new website and deployed it to the internet through Vercel. So now we can test this out and see the new artist website. Cool. Here, so we have the new website with the beautiful looking hero of a sci-fi future synth world. We have same title, and this one has a tagline. We have the smooth scrolling, different sections, same cool parallax sections floating behind the main content, but different assets. We have our music section with the different links to the music. This one only has one song so far, but more coming. We built this whole website, totally different assets, similar structure with the same prompts and just different image links and different social links, but it was all just the same prompts. We built 2 websites in less than half an hour. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, as a coder, I am using AI more and more, and it really enables me to do a lot more. What used to take days before, now I can do in hours or minutes even, and it enables me to do bigger things. So it's actually pretty exciting, and I probably wouldn't have ever updated or built these websites if I had to like build them by hand. So it enables me to get these websites up for my creative projects so people can find them or have some representation without having to spend a bunch of time on it. I can focus on other creative stuff or, build more apps. Cool. So I will put up the core prompt and the kind of template prompt on my GitHub where you can check it out if you want, and check out Claude Code. Let me know in the comments or if you have any questions about any of this stuff. This is my first coding video of this type anyway, but I hope to do some more. And in the meantime, I will be coding and creating music.